Supergirl episode 3, Fight or Flight. This episode was definitely pretty cool because we got introduced to a couple of interesting elements, and one thing that was really huge, probably the biggest thing that happened in this episode, it's not really going to affect the series or anything, but it was like the most surprising thing, and that is, of course, the fact that Superman technically appears for like 2.5 seconds in CG in this episode. It was surprising to me. I'd seen some articles and stuff where it was like, are they gonna, because they talk about it like crazy, so they aren't shying away from it just because of the movie stuff that's going on. That's like a really big thing for like the CW shows and even for Gotham. It's like some stuff they kind of have to stay away from because they're doing it in the movie universe. So it was actually really surprising to see officially Superman in this episode, even if it was for like a split second. It was pretty cool. Two of the other really big things that happened, the main villain this episode was actually just flat out human. So that was a nice little change of pace. It was pretty interesting. Just as tough, if not tougher, really. Like I guess the last main villain, the guy who could like shoot the needles and stuff, not as tough as this guy in this episode, Reactron. So that was pretty cool. And then of course the end of the episode when Kara decides, I'm going to go talk to Jimmy Olsen and try to get a date with him. We see Lucy Lane, who I've never heard of in my life. I'm assuming she's in the comics somewhere. I'd never even remotely heard that Lois had a sister before. She could have been in Smallville, and I'm just forgetting that, but I don't remember that at all. Probably was in Smallville. Everything was in Smallville, but that was so long ago I don't remember. But that was surprising, and I was looking up the title for this episode. I won't spoil it, but it's different than what I was expecting from just like the ending little scene. So they'll probably talk about that in the next episode. But I was surprised by what I read, about the ending scene. But it was definitely a fun episode. We got to see some pretty good action. We got to see a lot of action actually. I think this had the most action in the series so far. She had quite a few fight scenes, even though the last episode it was kind of a big focus, like, small crimes and do this and do that. That was like a montage. A montage is like 10, 15 seconds in each little thing. Not exactly like a fight scene, as I would call it. This was like, they had the fight scene at the gala. They had the fight scene when Supergirl, when Kara went to save the guy Maxwell Lord. They had a fight scene, the first fight scene when she went to save the woman from the bus. I believe those were the three big fight scenes, but they seemed to last for a very long time compared to most other scenes that we've seen. We had the stuff with Kara against her aunt in the last episode, and that was at the very end, and that seemed to last for a little bit. And technically we had Kara going against her sister during the little training scene. But this just seemed like they had three really big set piece fight scenes, and they lasted for quite a while. The first one I think was the shortest one. Maybe it was the second. It was probably the second one was technically the shortest one because Kara kind of got beat up, and then Superman came in. But they seemed to last for a little bit, and it was pretty entertaining, and I definitely enjoyed that. I guess like the official ending to everything when Kara does beat the guy, that wasn't too much of a fight scene. That was kind of just extending sort of the gala fight. But it seemed like we got like some pretty big set piece fight scenes in this episode compared to the other ones. I certainly enjoyed that. I thought it was pretty cool to see that see these fights take place in such drastically different locations. The first one was during a rescue. The second one, technically a rescue, but it was a rescue in like an abandoned car lot. So there are just a bunch of cars all over the place, just crushed up and stuff like that. And then we have the ending scene. Tons of people in there scattering around. Wynn has to get saved from like this pillar falling down and everything. And it was just really cool. I just liked how different each fight was, and they seemed to last for a pretty good amount of time as far as I was concerned. So I certainly enjoyed that. Just the development of Kara in this episode I thought was pretty entertaining. And it starts off straight from the end of the last episode, and that was something I was curious about because I was like, they could technically go either way. So I wasn't sure if Kat was gonna realize that Kara was Supergirl or not. So, that I got my answer out of that. I don't know how many of you guys were kind of wondering if they'd play with it or not. Would have just been one extra person, who knows? Because it does seem like a ton of people do know at this point, but it's really not that many people. It's like we have the organization, all of them know, of course, but they're cool, so it's fine. It's just Jimmy and Wynn, and they're the only ones. But I like that. The interview is pretty cool because it does lead to Kara kind of slipping up and mentioning that she and Clark are cousins. So that was kind of cool. I hadn't even really thought of that. Like, oh yeah, no one knows that. They said it like so many freaking times in the last two episodes. I was like, oh yeah, no one else knows that. They've said it like a billion times in the last two, but which is fine. But when she said that to Kat, and Kat was surprised by it, I was like, oh yeah, they just said it a million times. Still cool. Then that of course leads to like, oh, Supergirl is related to Superman, and then that led to, just the fact that Reactron was the main villain. That led to a really big moment for Kara's character where she's like, he didn't have, backup. He didn't have like a last minute savior to come in and help him out, and I like that. I thought it was cool that she had that development where she wanted to be separated. She mentioned like, I'm not Superman's cousin, I'm Supergirl. I was like, it was a cool definition for her character where she wants to define herself as her own thing. She doesn't need to be saved by the Man of Steel. She can do it herself, and of course by the end she does, and it's like the coolest thing ever because even Jimmy mentioned it, like, you stood up on your own and you defeated someone that even Superman couldn't beat. And they mentioned that they'd fought several different times, and basically it would always just kind of end in stalemates, and they kind of end up going their separate ways. So that was really awesome. She ultimately you know overcame the issue that she was having in this episode. Clark mentioned, like, after, when he sent it in the message, like, I talked to Jimmy, won't happen again. I'm not gonna like come to rescue you like you're a damsel in distress. You got it covered. And I was like, that is kind of awesome. I love the way that they played that. So that was one of my favorite parts of the whole episode. Just through the sheer dialogue, where Jimmy's like, you defeated someone Superman couldn't defeat, and of course the sort of cheesiness of Clark saying like, this, that seems like a job for Supergirl. It's like super cheesy, but I loved it still. Cheesiest thing this whole episode though was definitely during the interview, when Kara is answering. I think it was when Kat first started to do like the crazy interrogation questions that made Kara slip up. When she lands, she does like the full arm pose. I was like, that is so cheesy. It was unbelievable. Like, she did not need to remotely do that, put her arms on her hips and do like the super pose. I was like, that's just so cheesy and over the top. But this show definitely does that a lot. They do a lot of the quotes and stuff, and they really have Kara like kind of as classic Clark Kent, where she's messing with the glasses all the time, and she's obviously like, just seen as like the nerdy assistant to Cat Grant. And so it gets super cheesy at times, and it's hard not to notice, whether it's through dialogue or, through movements, emotions. It's like sometimes the show just gets so incredibly cheesy, but it's just enjoyable and fun to watch. And I really did like this episode. We got a little bit more of what's going on with the director of whatever the company's called. I think it's called like the OED or something like that. I completely forgot that it happened in the last episode, so I didn't even mention it in my review for the last episode. But whatever is going on with him is weird, because he's evil, but at the same time, he's kind of keeping things going, because when he found out that Kara's sister was helping her out, which once again I totally forgot her name, it seemed like he easily could have pushed her off of that, but he's like, all right, no one else knows about this, so how do we defeat Reactron? I was like, all right, so he's probably evil, most likely is. He can't be from the Phantom Zone unless it happened like a long time ago and he was the one that started it. But they kind of don't mention that. He mentions that, in I believe the first episode, oh, this has been around for a really long time. It's been around since your cousin crash landed, or it's been around even before that, but that's what kind of really kickstarted everything. So I don't know if he is just an alien in general. Maybe he's from Krypton, or like I said, just an alien in general. He knows aliens are out there, but something's going on with him. Like, he hasn't done anything evil. We've just seen like the glowing eyes. He's not Apocalypse, because that wouldn't make any sense. I don't know. I'm assuming that has to be a theory out there somewhere that he might be Apocalypse just because his eyes went red. That would be dumb if he was Apocalypse, and they would have to have the best reasoning ever for me to believe that that's Apocalypse, and he's not just destroying everyone already, because that's what he does. He comes in. That's this not like a cunning, coy game. He comes in, he punches people, and shoots laser beams that can move after they come out of his eyeballs. He doesn't F around, so he's not Apocalypse. I know that for sure. And like I said, if he is, they better have the best reason ever for him not being like super OP right now and just destroying everybody. But something's going on with him. Might be from Krypton, could just be from the Phantom Zone in general, and he set this up to kind of keep tabs on other aliens, and maybe he does want to be outed, or maybe he was being hunted before or something. I just don't know. But he doesn't seem super evil. They do the eye thing, and then basically he goes, and pretty much his reaction is like, alright, I'm going to help Kara. So maybe his theory is, or his idea is to help Kara so that she can be really strong and protected and safe, so that when he's able to, or maybe he's not at full power or something, then he could probably take her powers or something like that. I don't know, because if he wanted to kill her, he just wouldn't have helped. Simple as that. He would have done everything he could to not help other people, or not help Kara to survive. So I really don't have any true theories on it, outside of maybe he wants her to get so strong that when he takes her power or something, that it makes him even stronger. And like, okay, she's still training and stuff, and I don't know. Like, maybe that has something to do with it. Mentally, she doesn't have 100% control over being Supergirl and everything, so it has to be mind and body 100% before he takes her power. I don't know, but he's like really weird evil at this point. He's walking around, eyes glow. He can sense stuff that's happening, so that's a part of his power. I don't know if he can technically see, or if it's kind of like a weird sense that he has. But he knew what was happening. It's like, okay, she's trying to help her sister out. I need to go stop this. So, I don't know. He's got a weird power. I don't know. Like, I really got nothing for that. It's just like he hasn't done anything yet except be kind of mean to Kara. And then he helped in this episode, so it really threw me off. Like, what? Okay, now I don't even know what to think. So, not sure what's going on with that. But enjoyed this episode. We got another one. Maxwell Lord, we find out that he's like this really big scientist. He's probably in the comics, so people who knew him from the comics already knew that. But I didn't really know who he was. Basically, his introduction was Supergirl. We don't need Supergirl. She's messing stuff up. This episode, he was kind of a dick when he went on TV and was like, I'm going to thank the hero that saved me, Superman. And he looked like straight at the camera, and I was like, well, that was a dick move. But that's just, it is what it is. I don't know. He's very interesting. He's kind of a dick, to be totally honest, because he fired the one guy who was like, the guy didn't think to do one thing, and he's like, we can get it up to 500. If we switch this to, this material to that material, it would take off like 20 kilograms or something, 120 kilograms off of each cart, and then boom, up to 500 miles per hour. And he's like, but you don't have to worry about that. He'll take care of it because you're done here. And he just fired the guy right there because he didn't think of one thing. All he had to do was say, switch this to this, and we'll get to 500. But instead, he was a douche about it and fired the guy for not thinking of like the perfect idea, because he was, the lead. It was kind of like a Darth Vader thing, except he didn't force choke the guy. He was just a dick and he fired him. So, don't really like the guy. He's sarcastic and douchey at the same time. But I was checking some stuff on IMDb. He's supposed to be in like one other episode. It's at least one other episode that he's listed as, but he might be in more than one other episode. But it was only 3 total. So, I'm not sure what part he'll play. It'll probably end up being something with the train, so we might not see him for quite some time while they fix that up. But little insight into his character. Not the greatest character. So, don't really care about him too much. He's gonna need to be saved again, maybe. but if he's in another episode, he's gonna be a big part of it. He might get kidnapped again, like I said, or it'll probably. I feel like most likely it would be the train thing and him giving the train to the city. Maybe it gets destroyed, or maybe it just goes nuts, and Kara has to like destroy the whole thing just to stop it from killing a bunch of people. Who knows? But looking forward to the next episode. I did enjoy this one. Um, Curious as to whether or not we're going to get back to the Phantom Zone villains or if we might get something unique again, but I think we're going to get back to them. But I definitely love this departure. It led to a great advancement or development for Kara's character, especially after her having to be saved by Superman, who technically was in this episode, so that was a nice little surprise. And, it was just fun. Like, it was a nice little departure. But they can't do that all the time because obviously, they'd be name dropping Superman even more, and then he wouldn't come in and save him, but it would just be like, oh, Superman fought this person and Superman fought that person. So I think this was just the one episode to have a nice developing moment for Kara, and probably my favorite developing moment so far, really. Like, each episode she's kind of standing on her own a little bit more, and this was the best one because she had to be saved. And then it's like, I don't want to be saved. I want to stand on my own, no matter what, the consequences are. And then, of course, she came out on top and beat someone even Superman never could. So, really awesome. Not sure I agreed with the way they did that, because I know they said, like, oh, if you encase it in lead, it won't blow up and kill everybody. I don't think that her grabbing it, just because her hand was, like, in molten lead, which was also very cool that she did that. I was like, never seen that happen in Superman, so that was awesome. But when she grabbed it and pulled it out, it's like me grabbing this. There's like a bunch of space, like all right here. I feel like that still would have blown up and killed a bunch of people, but I don't know. I mean, it felt like that was, if it's a nuclear explosion type thing happening, I don't know. I felt like that was just a little bit too much space when you have like basically a ball in your hand, and all of this is just wide open. I was like, that, I don't know if I agree with that, but I also did not create science, so I can't really talk. But I love this episode. I do want to know what you guys thought about it, so please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, your least favorite parts. And I want to know what you guys think about the development of Kara in this episode, because I loved it. I thought it was really good. In general, I think her development have been pretty nice. One thing I really noticed in this episode that hasn't happened in the last two, as soon as they said that it was like for the very first crime in the episode when she had to save the woman from the bus, it was like, oh, there's a pileup. She was gone before they turned around, and every other time there's ever been anything, she'd be standing there and they'd be like, what are you doing? Like, get out of here and go save people. So that was something I definitely noticed where, just another thing where she's kind of getting more into her position as Supergirl. So that was like a very minor thing, but as soon as it happened, I was like, she was gone before they even turned around, and I like that. So I'm enjoying her development so far. The show's actually making me enjoy it more just for her development more than anything else, which I thought for sure would be like, it's Supergirl, it's going to be awesome, crazy action. My favorite part is so far just been Kara becoming Supergirl. Like, the actual dialogue and development has been my favorite part so far. But like I said, I do want to know what you guys thought about it, so please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.